Hello, and welcome to Cine Reveal Movie Recap. Today's film called Uncharted. The movie revolves around the adventure of Nate, a treasure hunter who is on a mission to find a missing relic. His journey takes him through several twists and turns, fighting off mercenaries and picking locks, along with his mentor Sully and another treasure seeker, Chloe. When he opens his eyes, he finds Nate the treasure hunter hanging outside from a row of cargo boxes that are also dangling from an open plane. He manages to climb back into the plane after fending off numerous mercenaries as he makes his way up. However, as soon as he enters, a red car rams him out and he plunges to his death. Just in time, a hand grabs his, matching a small adventure Nate had 15 years earlier as a young boy. Young Nate and his older brother Sam broke into a museum in Boston. If Sam hadn't caught Nate, he would have fallen out the window. To use in their search for a lost artifact, the orphaned brothers are looking for a map created after the Magellan expedition. Unfortunately, Sam sets off the alarm as soon as he tries to pick the lock, leading to their arrest by the police. Nate is allowed to stay as the boys are returned to the orphanage, but Sam must be taken to prison due to his third strike. Sam takes advantage of the brothers' brief time alone to say goodbye and flee. He does, however, promise to return for Nate in the future, and he gives Nate his beloved ring to keep with him forever. Nate discovers an empty piece of paper in his brother's lighter after Sam has left, which he uses to reveal a secret message with sweet words from Sam. Back in the present, Nate is now a New York bartender. Additionally, he pickpockets wealthy clients by approaching them with improbable justifications, such as helping a girl light her cigarette, then stealing her bracelet. Even though Nate's brother's lighter is no longer functioning well, he still carries it around with him. A man named Sully comes up to Nate one night as he's closing the bar and compliments him on his pickpocketing prowess before inviting him to join him on an upcoming crucial job. Nate kicks him out because he isn't about to start doing a crime with a stranger. The bracelet was taken out of his pocket, but Sully had left his card behind, as was later discovered. Nate goes to the address on the card because he wants to get the bracelet back. He sneaks into the apartment by taking the keys from the doorman. Nate is shocked to learn that Sully is holding the original Magellan's map as he waits for him. When Nate asks if the story that the original trip was meant to find gold is true, Sully says that it is. Armando and his son Santiago, the current heirs of the Moncada family who funded the expedition, are still looking for the treasure. Sully tells Nate that he is a friend of Sam's to get him to go with him. He also shows Nate a picture of himself as an adult. After they discovered Magellan's journal, Sam reportedly vanished, and Sully hasn't even heard from him since. Sully points out that looking for the gold could also help Nate find Sam, and Nate nods in agreement because he hasn't spoken to Sam either. Nate continues to reject him, saying that the brother he once knew no longer exists. But when he gets back to his apartment, he takes out a box filled with priceless mementos, including postcards from Sam. When Nate told Sully that his brother never got in touch with him again, he was lying. Additionally, he locates the ring, and after re-putting it on, he decides he does want to go through with it. Nate and Sully get together to discuss their first move. A cross that serves as a key for the chamber where they have stashed the gold will be up for auction as one of the antiques. They need to steal this key to begin because the legend claims there are two. However, Sully already has one. After making Sully split the gold in half, Nate uses his free time to check out the building where the auction will take place and come up with a plan. Sully and Nate learn Santiago is also present the night of the auction when they spot a pricey red car. This means there will be fierce competition for the cross because Santiago believes gold is his birthright. However, he is not alone. He has mercenary leader Joe, who was Sully's partner in the past, and teases him whenever she sees him. Just before the auction starts, Sully pretends to be a buyer while Nate plans the strategy. He moves suspiciously, so Joe sends her men to watch him. Nate enters the electrical room by placing his gum on the digital lock. Sully is supposed to steal the cross in the dark, so the plan is to turn off the power. Sully is forced to begin bidding against Santiago, even though he does not have the money for it because Nate is taking too long. Nate is unfortunately discovered by Joe's men, and a conflict ensues. After striking each other a few times, Nate leaves the room and decides to create a scene by jumping on the hallway ceiling lights. The cross is being removed as everyone starts to panic. Sully then flips his jacket around and acts like a worker. Sully grabs the cross and removes it as Nate is discovered and pursued by security, claiming that it is his responsibility to take it to the vault. Joe, however, notices this and pursues him. Security spots them and tries to apprehend her for assaulting an auction employee, just as she manages to corner him and threaten him with her knife. While Joe battles the guards, Sully gets to leave with the cross. Nate is waiting for Sully when he returns to his vehicle, and they decide to travel to Spain together. Nate has access to the captain's journal while they are in the air, which supports the legend. Magellan discovered enormous quantities of gold in the Philippines, stashed it away in Barcelona, and then lied to the Moncada family about his findings. They will be able to locate the gold by using the hints in the journal, even though the primary hint so far is just a tree. They meet Chloe, another treasure hunter who has been successful in locating the other cross. When they get to Barcelona, she doesn't want to work with Sully though, whom she views as dishonest and treacherous. When she departs, Nate realizes she took their cross with her and pursues her through Barcelona streets, but Chloe is quicker and she arrives at her car in time to make a getaway. She may have the crosses, but Nate and Sully don't give up and persuade her to stay by saying that they are the only ones who know where to go next because they have the journal, while she does not. They are now all cooperating. Nate drives them to the location the clue points to. It refers to a church with the name Pine in it and a tree as its logo. It is not an actual tree. Santiago confronts his father in the meantime. It has been reported that Armando will donate his fortune, and he confesses that this is because their money has been stained with blood. Sully has been spotted around town, so Santiago leaves Sully's decision unaltered and goes to see Joe to ask her to keep an eye on him. Returning to the group, they are pausing before moving on to the next stage of the plan. Chloe informs Sully that she is a guest while Nate is in the kitchen. Sam's brother Nate wants Sully to tell him the whole story, but Sully just says he'll tell him when the time is right. The following day, Santiago makes another attempt to persuade his father not to part with the fortune. Santiago follows Armando to his car and gives Joe the order to kill him because Armando has refused. The group enters the church at night while posing as tourists. Following the symbols and words carved on the floor and walls, Nate is shocked to discover that the postcards they sell there match one of Sam's. The group discovers a covert button, which Nate uses to unlock a painting that is concealed behind a statue of Mary. The altar reveals the keyholes for the crosses when Nate flips it over and reveals a picture of hell. The darts almost kill Nate and Chloe when they use the keys to turn the machine clockwise first. Thankfully, they manage to dodge just in time, and their second attempt, going clockwise, finally allows them to reach a secret tunnel. According to the journal, one cross must remain in heaven and the other in hell, so Nate and Chloe carry one cross into the tunnel, and Sully holds the other while remaining outside. Nate installs a tracker on Sully's phone so he can see where he needs to go next. Sully can now follow their movements without realizing Joe is doing the same. Following a mysterious tunnel, Nate and Chloe arrive at a nightclub where Joe's men are also present. The two sneak across the room to the bar, where Nate uses Sam's lighter to try to start a fire by appearing to be a couple dancing. They now have the necessary diversion to work on the puzzle carved into the wall behind the bar after Chloe starts it for him when it fails once more. Nate engages in combat with Joe's men when they discover them, and Chloe eventually discovers another keyhole that she uses a cross to open. Before it shuts down once more, a brand new hidden tunnel opens up in front of them, allowing the pair to flee while Joe's men remain behind. When the two use the key on the door, the room starts to fill with water. The tunnel leads the two to a hidden door beneath a fountain. To save them, Sully must use the cross on the hole above the ground, but the keyhole is concealed by a thick glass covering. Joe appears to try to steal the cross, and a fight breaks out as he starts working on shattering the glass. Joe seems to have the upper hand at first, but with a quick move, Sully turns the tables and throws Joe against the glass, which breaks. Then Sully places the cross over the keyhole and unlocks the hidden door to allow the pair to flee, but only Nate emerges. Nate returns for Chloe after noticing that she has fallen unconscious underwater. Chloe is shocked to discover that she has been helped rather than cheated on once they are both gone. They enter a Roman antechamber through this door, where Nate eventually lights a torch with his lighter after a few tries. Sully can see them through a drainage grill on the street in this chamber, which is underground as well. Additionally, he discovers a symbol engraved on a rock that says both keys must be used simultaneously to open the next door. To get the key to the pair, Sully throws it through the grill. When Nate assembles the crosses, he can unlock another mysterious door that leads to a Roman warehouse. The area contains 3 enormous urns, and for a brief moment, the team believes they have discovered the gold. However, the urns are filled with salt. The urns suddenly broke as they examined them, allowing them to discover a map among the salt. Nate makes a note of a route that connects Spain to the East Indies, but before he can consider the options, Chloe pulls a gun and orders him to give her the map. Nate tries to strike a deal with her, but Chloe simply tells him that he is unaware of the full circumstances surrounding Sam's disappearance before putting him to sleep and escaping with the map. A short while later, Sully wakes up Nate, who demands to know the truth. Sully clarified that Sam simply left and didn't ghost him. Together they arrived at the captain's tomb and discovered the journal, but as they were leaving, Joe and her men attacked them, and Sam was wounded. Sam could have provided Nate with some of the missing clues he was lacking to find the gold, and Nate is aware that Sully fled and left Sam there to perish. This is the only reason Sam recruited Nate. Nate dissolves their alliance and departs, after accusing Sully of being avaricious and self-centered. Later, when Sully tries to convince Nate to return, Nate only agrees because he has been contemplating the postcards and has made up his mind that he wants to complete the task his brother began. When Joe goes to tell Santiago what happened, he finds that Chloe is also employed by him. She will now oversee operations as a result of her greater success, which enrages Joe. At Santiago's exclusive airport, his team prepares everything, including his beloved red car, which Nate and Sully use as an opportunity to enter by hiding in the trunk. Santiago begins to speak about how his family has been betrayed and how he will restore their honor after examining the map and determining their course of action, but Joe cuts him off by killing him. Nate and Sully seize the opportunity to sneak around and retrieve the map while Joe and her men pursue Chloe after she becomes alarmed and tries to flee. When they reach the cargo hold, Nate can't help but confront Joe and ask her if she killed Sam. The plan is to also steal some parachute equipment and jump out of the plane. As the cargo is pushed off the plane and Nate gets into a fight with the men, Sully jumps away with the parachute, setting the scene for the rest of the story. Chloe is discovered by Joe's men, who then engage her in a gun battle, making it difficult for her to use a parachute to flee. She decides to drive the car off the plane rather than get in it. Nate climbs back inside and Chloe pushes him out again while also taking his hand and pointing him in the direction of one of the falling cargo boxes. They jump on it, it opens its parachute, and they land safely in the middle of the sea. The two float around for a while before the waves eventually carry them to the Philippines, where they use Sully's credit card to check into a hotel. Nate discovers the map doesn't exactly show where to find the treasure using Sam's postcards after Chloe prints a map that matches the real one's dimensions. Sully was correct. Sam did attempt to give Nate the final hint. Nate and Chloe, therefore, spend the evening attempting to interpret his messages. After a while, Chloe becomes exhausted and retires to bed, but Nate keeps trying, and this works out well for him because he realizes he hasn't employed Sam's oldest trick. Nate uses a candle to reveal a hidden message on a postcard that instructs him to use the crosses as a compass because the lighter still isn't working. When Nate finally finds the location of the gold, he does exactly that, and records the coordinates on a piece of paper before going to bed. The following morning, Joe and her men show up in the region. Chloe wakes up first and discovers the piece of paper with the coordinates. She decides to leave Nate behind and take the note with her. She intentionally left the wrong coordinates, so when Nate awakens alone, he is not alarmed. Nate takes a motorboat to the cave shown by the coordinates. He already knew that Chloe would betray him, so he knew what to expect. He's looking around in the wrong place, unaware that Joe is watching him from a distance. Nate swims through an underwater tunnel inside this cave and emerges inside a different cave where both of Magellan's ships have been hidden for all these years. Sully appears in the cave as Nate discovers the gold there, thanks to the tracker he still has in his phone. Nate is told that Sam would be pleased with him, but before they can continue their conversation, Joe and her men arrive. The two enter a covert compartment as a result. Joe's crew uses 2 helicopters to airlift the entire ship through a hole in the cave's roof. With a dagger and a sword to protect themselves, Nate and Sully emerge from their hiding place to grab as much gold as they can. When everyone has been thrown off the ship, they go upstairs and continue fighting with the crew. Now that the ship is being held by chains, Sully can scale them to reach the helicopter, where he pushes off the man he discovers and takes control to flee from Joe, who is on the other ship. Her ship collides with the other after Joe commands her pilot to follow Sully. Her men charge Nate's ship and start fighting. Nate beats them up as a result and gets to take some firearms from them. He also discovers some gunpowder scattered about. To escape the pursuers, Sully pilots the helicopter through a tight space between 2 cliffs. However, Joe is waiting for him at the other end, so he must make a very risky maneuver to avoid colliding with them. But this is only a short-term workaround. Nate becomes motivated to act drastically because Joe and her ship are still pursuing them. Nate stuffs a ball of gunpowder into the ship's cannon, and after a few unsuccessful attempts, he finally succeeds in getting Sam's lighter to work and fires the cannon at the opposing helicopter. Before the ship collides with a hill and a burning helicopter, Joe jumps off. Nate and Sully believe they've triumphed, but Joe has actually boarded their ship and is now lowering the anchor to prevent them from sailing away. The ship can't hold for much longer, so Joe and Nate's trade blows before Nate starts scaling the chains to get to the helicopter. When Sully notices Joe is pursuing Nate, he decides to change his ways and sacrifices his gold bag by throwing it at Joe, which causes her to fall into the water. Just as the chains finally snap and the ship collapses on top of Joe, killing her, Sully assists Nate in boarding the helicopter. Nate believes they can die for treasure later, but this won't be possible as the ship briefly floats before starting to sink. The treasure will eventually be in the hands of the Philippine government as the duo flies away because the Philippine naval units are closing in. Sully laughs but is disappointed that they don't have any treasure when he sees Chloe trying to follow them on a motorboat. Nate shocks him by revealing the gold he was able to conceal in his pants. Sam sends Nate another postcard from prison, far away. In it, he tells Nate to watch his back. A few months later, Nate meets an agent who is representing a man by the name of Roman, who wants to trade his ring for a Nazi map. Roman is interested in Nate's ring. The agent attempts to betray Nate by taking the ring and the map, but Sully appears and causes a distraction, allowing Nate to get both items back. The two are stopped as they leave together by an unknown person. We hope you enjoyed Nate's adventurous journey as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. This movie is a testament to the fact that sometimes, to uncover the truth, one must be willing to take risks and fight against all odds. As Nate said, greatness from small beginnings. It is our hope that you will be inspired to embark on your journey and achieve greatness. Thank you for watching, where we bring you the latest movie recaps. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more new content and hit the notification bell to never miss a video. See you next time. Take care and stay good. Bye.